Drawing your character once, easy. Drawing them again from a different angle and having them actually look the same, that's where most beginners get stuck. Today, I'm going to show you how to draw any character consistently in different angles. In the animation industry, this is also known as a character turnaround, which helps guide creative teams to collaborate on the same assets while maintaining consistency. Get ready for a full step-by-step tutorial from planning and sketching to mapping, structure drawing, line art and coloring, so you can be a better character designer. Let's get to it. So I'm going to show you the different steps on how you can do a character rotation and how basically I approach it. I like to sketch out my character first, get a rough idea. Maybe I'll do just a drawing of a face. Maybe I'll do some roughs of the entire body. This way I have kind of an idea as to what the character might look like. And so this is like the planning process, figuring out what it looks like, because a character rotation is pretty thorough. You're basically figuring out what your character looks like three-dimensionally in all its different angles. So you have to make sure that everything kind of fits and is structurally sound, or else as you rotate it, you'll find like problems and all that kind of stuff. So sketches, ideas are good. Usually I might just draw the face, some like expressions, and maybe I'll do some like action poses. Because character rotation model sheet is usually pretty straightforward. The character is either in an A pose, which is the character just standing with the arms kind of down, or sometimes they can be in a T pose, but I feel like a T pose is more for like 3D modeling, not for drawing. I am doing stick figures just because it's like more straightforward. But that's just to say that like a model sheet is usually pretty static. It's very bland. So to get your creativity going and get you motivated, doing it faces and expressions and an action pose can get you more like excited about drawing the character, as well as allows you to kind of explore and figure out who the character is. Explore the character. Who are they? So these are kind of the two things to get me started and going. And then once I have them, I'll probably put it to the side like I have with this picture of the cat. I put it to the side so it's like a reference point. I have an idea as to what I'm aiming for and what I'm trying to go for. And then once I have all this down, I will create a grid line. The guidelines basically help make sure that everything is proportionally consistent. So I'm going to be doing a side view or profile view. Then we're going to be doing a 3/4, and then we're going to be doing a front. And then if we have time, I'll probably do a back. These are probably your most essential ones. And then if you really want to go in depth, it's good to have a back 3/4. This way you see every single angle of the character in its most important kind of perspectives. So I'm going for this very Garfield, Nick Offerman looking type of cat. So I wanted it to be really big and chunky and just massive, have like a really intimidating silhouette. My shape language is probably on the square side, very broad, very big, very square head, very square body, square overall shape kind of thing. So here's the thing with doing a model sheet. What's good practice is to break them down into volumetric shapes. It's when you turn everything into like prisms or cylinders, and then you just move those cylinders and prisms across to the different angles so that you can reuse them. You're basically creating a mannequin figure that you can repurpose, kind of a thing. And that works for human characters as well. So what I'm doing right now, I am figuring out the structure of my character. So I want to figure out the overall structure of the head, and then I want to figure out roughly the size and structure of the body, because this is going to help guide my drawing as I am moving across to all the different other angles. If you're wondering how come I didn't draw the legs, it's because I'm probably not going to see the legs since the coat is so big. There's no real point for me to draw the entire coat, so I'm just going to draw it as a cylinder basically. So I'm going to go back to my grid lines, and I'm going to define where the bottom of the head is, where the body is starting, and roughly where the hands are. So this way I can keep a sense of consistency. And I'm doing this all on a different layer. So now I'm gonna do the same thing, draw all these big boxes, these main prism shapes, but now for the 3/4 one. I'm gonna treat it like it's a prism and turn the box 3-dimensionally. But the thing with 3-dimensional drawings is that sometimes you just have to break the rules a little bit to accommodate for what it is that you're drawing. I feel like the body needs to be a bit bigger actually. So here's the thing with drawing characters, that like sometimes you'll realize 3-dimensionally you didn't quite get it and you need to expand upon it more. So this side view, I actually don't think I'll include this part that sticks out because it's breaking the prism rule that I gave myself. So I'm just gonna stick to a more square-like shape. So this is the cool thing, is that as you're doing the model sheet, you start kind of seeing the character 3-dimensionally and what you'll have to adjust for it. So I wanted the character wide, but as I'm rotating it, I'm like, okay, what parts of it don't seem consistent? For the 3/4 one, I'm gonna follow more of the front version, because the front version, that's the proportions that I'm trying to aim for. The sketch is there to help guide me and remind me of what I want the cat to look like, but the structure that I did for the front is the one that I actually want to try following. So the hand is in front of the body, and the body is quite big actually. Make it even bigger. So he's bigger on the front. He's kind of like Santa Claus in some sense. That means this front version I'll probably have to make even wider. I keep having to change it and adjust it. But that's kind of the thing that happens, is that when you start structurally figuring out what things will look like, you kind of just have to go with it. Don't get stuck and be like, well, I drew it one way, I can only draw it this way. It was like, no, you can adjust it, you can change it, because you're essentially drawing 3 of them at the same time. Especially if you're a beginner, people tend to just jump right into drawing the character and not focusing on the structure, but that's kind of what the model sheet is for. But a model sheet is meant to be very structural. Have the character rotate as if it's on a turntable and see if it flows. Because if your proportions are off and you have it turn around as a turntable, things are going to kind of bounce or shift as it's turning. The head might all of a sudden warp into a different proportion when it changes to a new angle. And if you're doing this digitally, you can just shift them all so that the center line of all the characters are lined up, and then just animate it or flip it and then see if they turn around properly. I'm just going to keep it roughly the same size. So this is what we have, and now I'm going to lower the opacity of the guidelines because I don't want it to stand out too much. And now I'm just going to start putting some details on top of it. When you're drawing a very complex character, especially a human character with very detailed outfits, it can be very intimidating. So don't do that for a model sheet just yet. So in order to make it simpler for myself, I broke it down into its mannequin form first. So I did this first. Figure out like the torso look like, where is everything located. If I know what the mannequin looks like, I know what the clothes are gonna be. I know how it's sitting on the body. If I know how thick the arms are, I know how much space I can have the sleeve of the jacket wrap around the body. So the more complicated it is, the more important it is to figure out what the structure and the mannequin underneath the drawing is. Because I'm not going for very realistic, so there's no need to go like over the top with it or anything. As I'm kind of detailing this now, I'm not using the symmetry tool because there's no real need for characters to be exactly symmetrical. So I'm not worrying too much about how perfect it looks. So if you find that you're having trouble drawing something and making it feel 3-dimensional consistently, perspective is a big one. And the fur comes in. Oh, actually the left side of the fur coat wraps around. So I have to think about 3-dimensionally which side would that be on. So we're gonna see a lot more of it. So if it didn't come over to the right side of the body, we probably wouldn't see too much of it, but because it is reaching over a little bit and it's got some thickness, we'll probably see it. Okay, and then the back, I wanted him to be a bit more on like the straighter side so we can emphasize that really big stomach that I want to give him. And then just indicate the folds, indicate the fur on this cuff. And don't worry if it looks really rough right now, we're gonna tweak it afterwards. And actually, because the hands are going over, you can't actually see it, but I did give him a belt. So he has a bit of a Santa Claus belt. Or something like that. And then he's got a really big belly and everything. So I guess you really feel that like pompous, rich vibe from this on the side view. So I really like how he looks on the side view, so I'm gonna have to try to capture that on the other angles when we do the cleanup.
By the way, you can get my free character turnaround kit, which includes my step-by-step fail-proof guide, complete with grid, templates, and structure examples which you can use to draw any character consistently.
And now that we're on cleanup stage, I am going to just stylize everything a little bit. Maybe more of that scratchy, sketchy approach. It matches his personality. So I'm gonna do that with the cuff too. So for the 3/4, I think that's the one where I need to figure out. So I'm actually gonna skip that one and go to the profile one first and work out that one. Because I think this one looks really good too. I really like how he's looking on the profile view or the side view. Okay, it's looking pretty good. I think what I need to add is like that side whisker fur that he has. I feel like it's this part of the face. I didn't quite get it correct, so I'm trying to figure out like the dimension and the shape of that part of the face. I'm trying to look at the side profile. So what I'm doing now is like if I'm having trouble I look at side view and see where this brow point is sticking out, and I'm also looking at roughly how I drew the details on the front version. Not that I don't know what a cat looks like, I just want to see what a cat looks like in a 3/4 angle if Google will show me one. The tricky part actually is the mustache. And then if you were to ever hand this off to a 3D modeler, they'll come back to you and be like, hey, yeah, actually it doesn't work. It doesn't go that far off into the face because that's 3-dimensionally, that's just not how it works. And the monocle, I'm gonna say that it's around here. It's looking a little better. I don't know if it's exactly correct, but I'm just gonna say that it looks pretty good. At least closer than it did beforehand. I feel like it's closer to how the character feels in the other angles. I want to say he looks okay. Human age wise, I'm gonna say like 60. I don't know. So we got our 3 characters down. The back would essentially just be taking the front, or how I like to do the back angle sometimes is just take the front version and erase everything and then just draw what the back would look like, because the silhouette would essentially be exactly the same. It's just that the front detail is not there, it's the back detail.
For the design of this cat, I really wanted something that was kind of regal looking and very royal, so I kind of referred to a lot of more European kind of a color scheme. So I picked a lot of reds, kind of burgundy, and to kind of complement that deeper red burgundy color, I used a very deep kind of green. So not trying to make it too fancy or too colorful, but keeping it toned down, but still getting that sense of like this was a bougie looking cat. And you know, they're a little bit on the upper echelon, they're a little bit on the upper class, and I think that fur color really helps to accentuate it. So you know, the design of this cat was meant to be very straightforward, very simple, but I definitely wanted the colors to reflect kind of how bougie and how royal this cat character was. And when it came to kind of the idea and thought for this, definitely wanted something very European, almost like someone who would kind of like be in a castle maybe. There wasn't really too much lore for it, but I definitely wanted someone who looked very pompous, kind of like very proud of themselves and thought very highly of themselves. So the posture and the size definitely reflected that upperclassmanship aspect of this character's design. If you want to learn hand-drawn illustration techniques, we live stream free art lessons every week. Subscribe to vote for what you'd like to see us draw next, and hit that bell to be notified whenever we go live. If you're looking for motivation and accountability, join our Art Nerd community on Discord for monthly challenges, art critique, and more free resources to keep you creating.